Wednesday show. Wednesday show. I don't know what that was. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Wednesday show. Ho, 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 ho. I'm Santa Claus. I'm Santa Claus. So go and get me cookies. How's everyone doing? I'm feeling I'm about to sneeze. How's everybody doing out there? Welcome to another exciting episode of the Wednesday Show, episode 860 to be exact, which is kind of crazy because that's a big number. I know we say that every single week, but that is a big number. Howdy, Alex. Hola, Frank fame. I don't know why Allison became. So we got a few ideas for tonight's episode. Hello, Zoe. It's funny, we got more people in the chat room than it's saying that are actually watching the show. How's everyone doing? Is everyone doing well today? Hopefully everyone's doing well. What topic should we do? We're gonna give you guys a few topic here. And I had a really good one and I just lost it. Let's do that. And then we'll do that. And let's do a fourth one. Let's do that. All right. We got a poll here in the chat room for you guys to figure out what episode you guys would like to have. I've been watching some Olympics, so we've got Blizzard Beach in there because it's Winter Olympics. We also have Dinoland USA because that closed up recently, and also we've got some stuff to talk about for Dinoland USA during our pre-show stuff. We also have Ask the Expert, where you guys can throw questions about anything and everything, or we can choose a deep dive about something completely different than what we have already up there. So throw your answers into the chat room, and we will try to figure out exactly what topic you guys would like to have for this evening. But no one's even telling me how they're doing. Chat room. So we're not going to start until someone out there tells me that they're at least doing well. And not like a well that to get water from, but, let me know if you're doing good, if you're doing fine, if you're doing dandy and all that other stuff. All right, so there we go. Hello, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for asking. Okay, let's get this party started. We're going to start the 860th episode of the Wednesday Show in 5, 4, 3, 2. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 860th episode of the Wednesday Show. Today is February 11th, 2026. I had to check the year. And I'm your host, as always, Brent Dodge. Hello. Today we're going to be going through and talking about one of the topics that you guys are voting on right now in the chat room. So I don't know what our topic's going to be yet. So start voting if you have not done so already. But of course, before we get to that, let's talk about our news for the week. First off, thank you everyone out there who's been joining us for our Saturday in the Park. If you didn't already know, every single Saturday we do a live broadcast from someplace found throughout the Walt Disney World Resort. You never know where we're going to be coming to you from, but I promise you we will always be coming to you live from Disney. This coming up Saturday, I do have reservations for Disney's Hollywood Studios, so we'll be coming to you from Disney's Hollywood Studios this coming up week. So join us at 1 o'clock Eastern Time for all that fun. Also, speaking of YouTube, if you don't want to miss anything, only sitting at 9,229 subscribers. That, my friends, is a huge number, and it's a palindrome, which I love. However, I'm hoping by the end of the night, it's no longer a palindrome, aka send some friends over. Let's get up to 9,230, then 9,231. Etc., etc., etc. If you've not subscribed yet and you're watching right now, you can subscribe right now and we can watch this number turn over in real time, just like this. Not happening. Okay, well, we'll give you guys like 10 more seconds if you have not subscribed yet, to watch over in real time. But I've got a feeling that everyone who's watching right now is already subscribed. But watch it turn right now. Nope. It's not working. But we're going to be going through and talking all about the topic that you have. Oh, Parent Sparkle, thank you for becoming a member of Club Oh Yeah. Thank you. Welcome to the family. And actually, because right now one of the options is Dinoland USA, if you are part of Club Oh Yeah, which is going to be the monthly subscription thing on YouTube, we do have a lot of Dinoland USA footage up there that I've never released to anyone before. And I have it scheduled so it's like almost one every day until it's completely out of footage. So if you are part of Club Oh Yeah, that's one of the perks. So also, where are we going to? Oh, one other thing that I want to talk about. Speaking of Dinoland USA, I do want to give a huge shout out to everyone who's been spreading the word about a closer look at the Animal Kingdom's Dinoland USA. Ever since this attraction and land closed up just a little over a week ago, this book has been steadily, and I'm not even kidding, like steadily climbing the charts again to become one of the top books on Kindle for Florida travel. So we were in the 200s last week, and now we are currently at number 17. We were at 12 last night, so we fell a little bit over the last 24 hours. But I have faith that we're going to get back up to that number one spot that we were at for the first week that book was released. So share it with a friend. Or if you've purchased that on Kindle, do a review if you've not done a review yet, because that'll help pump it up a little bit too. Okay, and of course, as always, tonight's episode is sponsored by our Patreon pals. If you're one of our Patreon pals out there, give us an oh yeah in the chat room. Thank you, our Patreon pals out there. You make the world go round. That's a Disney reference. Okay, so it looks like right now we do have a tie for Blizzard Beach and Dinoland USA on which topic we're going to be doing tonight. We'll give you guys another minute, let's say, to vote for which one you want to have be our topic. And if we don't have any more votes in that minute, or whichever the first one to be voted on in the next minute will be our topic. But if we don't, then we'll go to a random number generator between Blizzard Beach or Dinoland USA. So if you've not voted, vote. If you have voted, well, thank you for voting. So we'll give it, you got about like 40 more seconds here to throw your votes in. I think we're going to be going to the random number generator. So let me get that pulled up right now. We'll have it so Blizzard Beach will be number 1. Dinoland USA will be number 2. Random number generator, choose any number between 1 and 2. Remember, there is like right below the chat room, there's like a little poll. So if you've not gone to that yet, we just had someone vote for Blizzard Beach. So Blizzard Beach will be our topic tonight. And that was still translating everything that I was just saying. I forgot to turn it off. There we go. Okay. So tonight we're going to be talking all about Blizzard Beach in honor of the Winter Olympics. I do love the Winter Olympics. I love the Olympics, period. I think it's just one of the greatest times of every 2 years, every 4 years if you're just doing winter or summer. But every 2 years, I do look forward to the Olympics, and it really kind of consumes a lot of my time for those entire 2 weeks. And tonight, because of it, I figure we might as well go through and do a walkthrough of Blizzard Beach, because Blizzard Beach is one of those things that we don't really talk about too much. I was actually hoping that we could go over to Blizzard Beach, or that I could go over to Blizzard Beach earlier today to kind of do some research in preparation of the fact that we might have a Blizzard Beach episode. But let's get to it. So let's first start off with a little bit of a history lesson of the Disney water parks before we actually get into the third water park, which is Blizzard Beach. And I know what you're thinking, the third water park, there's only 2 water parks. There's currently only 2 water parks, but at one point there were 3 water parks, and at one point there was only 1 water park. It all started off back in the 1980s when we had the amazing river country, which was an OSHA nightmare just asking to happen. So river country was a old watering hole that was found over at Fort Wilderness Campground. It was in the campground area, but at the same time, it was considered a theme park / water park. And if you ever had a chance to go there, I got to go there to the parking lot one time, and then it rained. That's my main memory of river country. I'm sure that we went another time, but I do remember that we pulled up and it was raining, and then we said, okay, let's go someplace else. And that was back in like 1984 or 85, 88. I don't know. I was going to say I was 4, but I was born in 84. So around 1988, 1989, I do remember us going over into the parking lot and seeing that we then couldn't go into River Country. So River Country was a watering hole where you could go through and you could swing on rope swings, you could go on these inflatable tubes, and overall it was just pure chaos. It was pure fun. And it was one of those things that really started to set the standard for what else Disney could do. Now, remember, up until this point, we only had a few different Disney themed areas. We had Disneyland, which opened up in 1955 and 1971. We would get the amazing, the super duper, the always a wonderful Magic Kingdom / the Walt Disney World Resort. And then as time would go on, we would have more and more things being added to the Disney atmosphere. But when we got River Country, it was Disney's first chance at taking a look into doing a themed water park area. So a few years later, they decided to up it a little bit more in 1989 and open up Typhoon Lagoon. Now, Typhoon Lagoon, we've talked about multiple times on this Wednesday show, not today's Wednesday show, but the Wednesday show over the last 860 weeks. And in Typhoon Lagoon's backstory, we have it so a wondrous storm rode across the sea, catching ships in its path, helpless to flee. Instead of a certain and watery doom, the wind swept them here to Typhoon Lagoon. Those are the planks that are on the side of the road when you're driving in. I just love them. I think it's such a great rhyme. So when they started to do Typhoon Lagoon, they started to enhance a story a little bit more and had it so there was a central story that surrounded the entire water park area with this idea that a typhoon swept through. It took all these ships and threw one of them on top of a mountain called Mount Mayday, and that would be the Miss Tilly ship up at the top. And every 15 minutes, it would sport out water. It still does to this very day. Typhoon Lagoon was still open to this very day. So eventually, what would happen is in the 1990s, we would get our third and final water park. Hopefully not our final one. Hopefully we'll get another one at some point. And the third one would be known as Blizzard Beach. Now, with Blizzard Beach's success, it did draw a few people, not a few, a lot of people away from River Country. And at the same time, River Country did start to have a few more issues. For instance, they were using water being pumped in from the Bay Lake, and there's a lot of algae in there. So Disney decided that it would be best to still only have 2 water parks, and they would shut down River Country and just have Typhoon Lagoon and Blizzard Beach be the only 2 remaining water parks that existed in the Disney atmosphere. Now, I know what you're thinking. How on earth did they come up with a story for Blizzard Beach? Okay, so here's the story for Blizzard Beach, because it just does not make sense that you would have this entire winter themed thing in the entire or in the center of Florida. It just doesn't make sense. So here is the storyline of Blizzard Beach. Now, back in the 1990s, I don't know if you knew this, but back in the 1990s, there was this freak storm that happened in Central Florida. It was the only time in Central Florida history that not Disney, but all of Central Florida, Orlando, everything else, there was all this snow. There was tons of snow, and people didn't know what to do because it's sunny Florida, and it just doesn't make sense. They have a lot of snow in sunny Florida, and people started to freak out. They were unsure of what to do. They decided maybe not to go to work those days, and Disney said, we need to capitalize on this right now. So instead of freaking out about the idea that there is this massive snowstorm, they instead got a bunch of construction workers together and they built a ski resort right in the middle of all the action. And then as soon as they built it, literally within seconds, it all melted away. I know you're thinking, how much of this story is true? None of it. But that's okay, because yes, the storyline for Blizzard Beach is that there was a snowstorm. There was not a snowstorm in Central Florida, but the storyline was there was a snowstorm, and Disney decided that they were going to build a giant ski lodge there where people could go through. They could go skiing, they could go sledding. They could just have a lot of fun at this brand new winter wonderland that was in Central Florida. And of course, as they were doing this, everything started to slowly melt away. Now, while all this was going on, there was something that was going on over at Typhoon Lagoon as well. There was a gator, and this gator was not a real alligator. He was just a mascot of the entire park. And we found out that he also had a cousin who had a little bit more of an adventurous side. He liked to do sports. He liked to do downhill skiing. and this gator was named the Ice Gator. Now, the Ice Gator decided to move over and visit his cousin in Central Florida, and when he saw that this new ski resort was there, he said, you know what I'm going to do? Instead of hanging out with you over at Typhoon Lagoon, I'm going to go hang out over at the ski resort. So all of a sudden, the Ice Gator became the staple of Blizzard Beach. Now, the Ice Gator, when he made his way over to Blizzard Beach, he brought a lot of different fun activities with him. Now, in addition to Disney going through and building this ski resort, the Ice Gator brought in a little bit of fun and a little bit of chaos as well. So he decided that he was going to set up a bunch of different slides and ski hills for people to go down. Now, the very first thing that he did was he built a giant ski jump at the very top of the central section of the entire park. It's called Summit Plummet. Now, on Summit Plummet, you would go to the top of the ski jump, you would go down, and there was going to be an actual ski jump that would launch you off into the, well, I was going to say the wilderness, but in reality, you're supposed to just land like you would be a Olympian in the Winter Olympics, landing a giant ski jump. So the Ice Gator decided right off the bat that he was going to go to the top. He was going to be the first person to test it out. He went down, he launched off, and he sailed all the way into a gift shop. And that, my friends, is going to be where our story begins. Because now, as we have all of Blizzard Beach slowly taking form in story form, we also have to kind of take a little walk through the entire park. So in addition to the Ice Gator, we do have a few other things that we're going to find around the area. Now, back in about 2021, 2022, when Blizzard Beach would reopen after the years-long closure, after the pandemic hit the entire world, they decided to bring in a few more Frozen friends in the form of Frozen Friends. So all of a sudden we had Anna, Elsa, and Olaf making their way into Blizzard Beach as well. Now that we have all the stories straight, let's go take a hike through Blizzard Beach. So when you first enter into the park, you know what we should do? Can we do that? I don't know if it's going to pop up on the screen. We will try it though. So when you first enter into Blizzard Beach, the very first thing that you're going to enter into is obviously you're going to go past a little shop where you can go through and buy several different things. And I know you're thinking, what kind of things can you buy there? Well, toboggans, mainly toboggans. So right after you enter into the spot, you will find this little shop on the left-hand side with a little outhouse there. And it's got great signs about how we'd love to toboggan with you. And a whole lot more. Right after that, we do have the beach house. Now, the beach house, focus. We might not be showing all the pictures here. This is just a little test run here. However, pictures are actually popping up. So at the beach house, this is going to be a spot where you can find several different items like beach towels, swimsuits, things to build sandcastles with. There's a lot of different things like that, but there are also a few different fun finds that you should check out next time that you are over at Blizzard Beach. Number one, if you look at the very side of the entire house, you can find the wall that the Ice Gator crashed through on the very first test run of Summit Plummet. If you look here, you can actually find him with the skis and stuff, kind of just crash through in silhouette form. Number two, if you go into the shop, it is all themed around a nice little ski lodge. And I know you're thinking, ski lodge, where on earth else could we find something that's lodge themed around Walt Disney World? Well, of course, we do have Disney's Animal Kingdom Lodge, but more importantly, we also have Disney's Wilderness Lodge. Now, Disney's Wilderness Lodge had a lot of influence about different lodges that could be found up in northern states like Maine, Wisconsin, Minnesota, places where it usually does get cold. And a lot of those different lodges would have it so there would be a theme, not a theme, but it would be a lot of different spots where people could go through and they could go cross-country skiing or downhill skiing if that's what they wanted to do. Otherwise, they could just sit around the fireplace and get warm by the fire while everyone sings Christmas songs. That's not really what we did there, but at the same time, you might be doing that if you went to a ski lodge. So when you are in Wilderness Lodge and you are walking around on the first level of Wilderness Lodge, I know people who are just tuning in right now are like, I thought we're talking about Blizzard Beach. We are going to be talking about Blizzard Beach, but this is important. So if you ever go to Wilderness Lodge and you walk through the bottom floor, you'll see things like just standard lights hanging from the ceiling and then the giant chandeliers that are in the middle Fun fact, the people who designed those chandeliers also designed the chandeliers inside of Restaurantosaurus over at Dinoland USA. So if you ever notice little similarities, you should have, because it's actually created by the same people, but that's completely besides the point. So if you take a look back and you notice something along the walls on the first floor, there's not any light fixtures on the walls of the first floor because it's all being lit from above. If you go to the second floor, however, you will find lights plastered in between every single set of double doors for the rooms. If you take a look at these lights, you will notice that it is different scenes from nature. You will have bears that are walking through the woods. That's not how they're walking, but that's how they walk in my eyes. You'll have deer frolicking through a forest. You'll have moose chomping on grass and a few other different scenes. Now, going back into Blizzard Beach, if you ever go inside of the beach house, which is going to be the spot where the ice skater crashed into, on the back walls, you can also find little light fixtures. The light fixtures here are the exact same light fixtures that you can find on the second, third, and fourth floor of the main lobby of Wilderness Lodge. Let's continue. So after you leave that area, you can go to one of my favorite names in all of Walt Disney World, which is the Lotta Wada Lodge. Lotta Wada. A lot of water. Lot of water? Lot of water. So it's just a fun thing to say. So the Lotta Wada Lodge does have a few different things that can be found here. You can find a portrait of the ice skater, again, one of our founders of the entire area, and one of our spokespeople of the entire area as well. In addition to that, the lodge does have a few more things that are similar to what you would find over at Wilderness Lodge, and mainly it's just a food and beverage spot. It's not the greatest food on property, but at the same time, hey, it's food. Right around the corner from that, we do have a little family of snowmen. I know what you're thinking. Earlier we were talking about Frozen characters, but these ones are not going to be the Frozen characters. But these are going to be 3 snowmen that were created back in the 1990s when Blizzard Beach was first created. So the story goes, someone came up, they created these snowmen, and then it started to snow. And if you look at the 3 snowmen, they are starting to slowly fade away. We have 2 parents that are taking a picture of little Button. Now, Button's going to be the name of the little one that's there. Next up on our walkthrough of Blizzard Beach, we've got a few different things here that are not as important, but you know what, we're just going to point them out. On the right-hand side, we got the lockers. This is where you're going to go through and you can change. Frostbite Freddy's, that's where you can buy lockers if you want to keep your things in a storage locker. And then we got the Cooling Hut and the Shade Shack. The Shade Shack is going to be a spot where if you ever lose a child, that's where you can go. And if you go to the Cooling Hut, they have some food there, but you can also go through and get a birthday or a celebrating or whatever temporary tattoo. So while you're walking around strutting your stuff in your swimsuit, that's how I walk around in the Blizzard Beach. When you're walking around, you can have it. So if it's your birthday or if you're celebrating something, you can also have it just like a birthday button, not just a birthday temporary tattoo, which I think is really cool. Straight ahead, we're going to have Tykes Peak. Now, inside of Tykes Peak, like I said, we did get a retheme of this area focused on Frozen. So if you look at the bottom here, we do have little Anna and Elsa, and at the top there, we do have Olaf. This is going to be a spot mainly focused around younger children, and there is not a ton of storyline going on here overall. It's just a lot of really cute things. It also really makes me upset because since it is themed around children, it's very tough to get in there and get good pictures of things because kids are usually just running around, and I just don't want to be a creep who's taking pictures of children. So sometimes I just sit there and I'm like, okay, get out of the way, kids. Get the picture, and then get out of the way, kids. Okay, so let's get to the main part of the resort. So we talked about Tykes Peak, which is just kind of a simple little kids area. But in the central area of Blizzard Beach, we're going to have several different things that are themes from very mild to very extreme. Let's start off at the lowest area, and then we're going to start to make our way into the purple slope, the green slope, and the blue slope, which are going to be the slopes that actually take you to the top of Summit Plummet and allow you to go on different things. So first off, we have Meltaway Bay. Now, like we said, as the story goes, there we go. As the story goes for for Blizzard Beach, there were several different people who ran into the spot to build this ski resort as soon as the snowstorm hit Central Florida. And when they built it, all of a sudden the sun came out, it started to go through and start to melt everything away. And eventually all of that water would melt away to Melt Away Bay, which is going to be the main little wave pool that we have here. Now, if you've ever gone to Typhoon Lagoon, you know that the Typhoon Lagoon wave pool is one of the more elaborate, one of the more intense spots that you can have. But when you go through and go to this one, it's a little less intense, but you'll still have some pretty decent waves there. When you're zoned out thinking and don't realize it looks like you're staring at someone, I promise I wasn't. So we've got Melt Away Bay there. Okay. Now, going around there, we also have the Polar Pub. Now, the Polar Pub is going to be a little spot where you can get some beverages. But the other thing we want to talk about is going to be the Lazy River, aka the Cross Country Creek. Now, a lot of the different things that are found around Blizzard Beach are going to be named after things you can find in winter sports. So things like downhill skiing, cross-country skiing. So we have the Cross Country Creek. Now, the Cross Country Creek is going to take guests all around the park, and we're only doing this to have a little bit of a dramatic thing. So when you're going through and doing the wave pool, or not the wave pool, the Lazy River, all around the entire park, eventually you're going to go through the mountain here till you get to the other side. Oh, we went the wrong way. When we go through here, the Cross Country Creek does pay tribute to our backstory. So now, as we talked about, the ice gator is going to be the cousin of the gator that is found over at Typhoon Lagoon. And when Blizzard Beach was created, he decided that he was such a huge fan of the idea of doing these sports, these more extreme sports, that he decided that he was going to become the brand new mascot for Blizzard Beach. Now, everyone has to have some sort of place that they can go back to that's their home. That's their home. And when he opened up Blizzard Beach, or when he moved into Blizzard Beach, he decided to make the place home. And in the middle of Cross Country Creek, you can actually find his home in the very center here. Now, a little bit more backstory on him. After he crashed through that wall in the lodge, eventually he would move into his home. And when the temperature started to change, something terrible happened to him. He started to get sick. And if you've ever been in a place like, well, lately Florida, where all of a sudden it's really hot one day, then it's cold, then it's hot, then it's cold, then it's hot, then it's cold. You're hot and you're cold. You're yes and you're no. That's Katy Perry, but that's besides the point. When you go through and you start to have this extreme difference in heat, a lot of times people get stuffy nose, they'll sneeze a lot, they get sick. And that's exactly what happened to the ice gator. So when you're going through his house, you can actually hear the ice gator inside, and he is now sick. So while he is sick, not like sick like cool, but like achoo sick. So while you're going past his house on the Cross Country Creek, you'll be able to hear him in there, and he starts to huff and he starts to puff, but he doesn't blow anything down. Instead, he just sneezes a lot, and then water squirts out of the chimney and gets everyone wet that's out there. So if you ever go to this area, take a look around, because there's just a lot of details helping you understand who the ice skater really is. Let's get away from the Cross Country Creek, though, and make our way to the rest of the resort. Now, there are going to be a few different spots that you can go to help sell the story, and also a few different spots that you can go through to help do some attractions. Okay, we are going to start off with the Ski Patrol Training Camp. Now, just like everyone who goes to a ski resort, actually, if you've ever gone over and watched a movie that came out back in the 1970s, put out by Disney, it's called Snowball Express. I highly recommend Snowball Express. It's available now on Disney+. I watch it quite regularly. It is one of my favorite Disney films of all time. I'm not even joking right now. It's like Candle Shoe, which most people think that I am joking when I talk about Candle Shoe, but I love Candle Shoe. And I love Snowball Express, two of the greatest Disney live-action films that most people have never even heard of. In Snowball Express, they go through and they have it so they're opening up a ski lodge, and they start to have it so there's going to be ski instructors there. And one of the ski instructors has no idea what he's doing, but he's learning how to become a ski instructor despite not knowing how to ski. So here we have a Ski Patrol Training Camp. So people who are also learning how to ski can go through and they can learn how to ski. This is also the only spot in the park that I get insanely jealous of. So over here, we've got a few slides. We got these little slides here that go off into the water. These are probably the two tamest attractions in all of Blizzard Beach. They move at about this pace. Very, very slow, very, very boring. However, in addition to those two, we also have this little blue house right here. Now, this blue house is one of the coolest attractions of all time, but there is a height restriction, and unfortunately, I do not fit the height restriction. Now, it is not a height restriction of you must be so tall to do it, but it's you must be so short to do it. So this is going to be one of the zip lines that you hold on to. You launch out above the water, and then you get a crash into the water. Oh, and I get so jealous every single time that I'm walking by and I see these kids going through. It's also very entertaining to go through because a lot of times you will see kids who don't realize that they should be letting go, and they actually hit the bell at the top, and the kids will backflip. And it's scary, but it's also very entertaining. Also, we just got a huge amount of people who just popped on. Hello to those people who just popped on. We are currently sitting at, wait, have we gone up in subscribers yet? No, we haven't. At 9,229 subscribers. If you're one of those people who just joined on and you are not subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. Get us up to 9,230 by the end of the episode. Okay, so the Ski Patrol Training Camp is supposed to be a spot where younger people can go through and they can learn how to ski, but in reality, it's just a lot of fun things. So in addition to the zip line and the slow moving, I can't stress how slow moving this thing is, raft ride, and I have gone on the slow moving raft ride a few times, and it's boring beyond belief. They also have it so there are ice blocks on the water. Now, these ice blocks are not real ice. They are things that you can go through, and you can hold the ropes above you as you walk across, trying not to fall in the water. Again, this entire area is based around younger kids, but the raft one, they will allow adults to do as long as they are with a child, or they will let you go across the little rope one. Again, you have to be with a child, or at least pretend like you're with a child. I've always been with a child though when I've done it. Wait, in addition to that, right around the corner there, we are going to have a few different food spots. We got snowballs, we got Avalanche, and the Icy Expeditions. These are all going to be just basic snow cones, ice cream. It's good food, but at the same time, it's not great food. If you go to any of the Disney parks, usually I will go on and on about specific spots where I think they have really good food that you can go through and try. Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, people will talk about like the donuts. The donuts are good. I don't think they're great. And there have been times where I have the annual pass that allows me to do the water parks and mini golf. If you didn't know, I go mini golfing all the time. It'd be shocking if you have been following me on Instagram and you did not know about how often I go mini golfing. But there have been times where I've gone to Winter Summerland and they're like, hey, it's just like a half hour away right now. And I will run into Blizzard Beach because it's right next door. And I'll be like, hey, maybe I'll get some food. And then I get in there, I'll eat the food. And every single time I'm like, why did I do this? This food is not good. Blizzard Beach, you can improve your food. That's my main thing that we're going to take out of this episode here. But let's go up to the chairlift. So the chairlift is an actual working chairlift. Underneath your feet, there are a pair of skis. Now, again, they want to have it so this entire thing is featured around the idea that it is a working ski resort. So when you sit down, you will have little skis that pop up underneath you, so it actually looks like it's skiing. I really like this part of it. This will take you up to Summit Plummet. Now, a lot of people will think that Summit Plummet is the name of the water slide at the top. That's true, but it's also going to be the point at the top. Now, the entire mountain is called Mount Gushmore, again, playing on the fact that the water gushed down, but also playing on the idea of Mount Rushmore. See? Once you get to the top there are going to be a few different paths that we can take. We are not going to go to Summit Plummet yet. Instead, we're going to take the path to the Family Springs, or the Teamboat Springs. So the Teamboat Springs is going to be our family raft ride. Now, I cannot stress this enough. If you do not like being with random people, you should go to Blizzard Beach with a few other people. There's a lot of water slides here that you can do by yourself. Perfectly fine. However, Teamboat Springs is one of the ones that it is a little awkward. I have no problem being by strangers. I just dropped my pen. I have no problem being by strangers and interacting with strangers, but Teamboat Springs is a little awkward because they are required to have at least 3 people, if not 4 or 5, in each one of these rafts. And so there have been times where I'm like, I want to go on Teamboat Springs, but be put with a random family, and then you're sitting in the smallest tube that man has ever created for a family of 4 to go in, and you go down a very long slide. So it does start off near Summit Flummet, the very top of Mount Gashmore, and you go down and down and down and down and down until you get to the very end here, where you continue at water level to just slowly drift until eventually you can get off over by the giant Mickey floats that are here. Overall, I do enjoy Teamboat Springs. I understand why people like Teamboat Springs. It's not my favorite thing in the park, but we're not going to get to my favorite thing in the park quite yet. So let's go off to Runoff Rapids. Now, Runoff Rapids is going to be on the back side of the mountain. Also, little pro tip for you: if you are going to Typhoon Lagoon, Blizzard Beach. If you're going to Blizzard Beach, a lot of people will leave their stuff at the main beach here. Now, there's going to be the spot that's over by the Runoff Rapids and Meltaway Bay. And there's a lot of spots that you can potentially sit there. But if you want my sound advice, I usually set up camp way back over here in the middle of nowhere, because usually you don't have to worry about anyone possibly coming near your stuff, because most people are not going to the back side of the park. Now, you do have to walk a lot farther to get there, but at the same time, in my opinion, it's the best place to kind of set up camp. Okay, we do have Runoff Rapids here. Now, Runoff Rapids is going to be 3 separate water slides. 2 of them are going to be open water slides. The other one is going to be an enclosed water slide. They are all found with tubes, hence the fact that we have tubes, and everywhere else tubes. So there are going to be 3 different water slides that are found here. Now, again, this is going to be one of those things. Let's zoom in here a little bit. When you are at Runoff Rapids, at the very top, there is going to be a little spot that will drop off the rafts or the tubes for you to get inside of. If you look here, right where it says Runoff Rapids, right here at the D, that's where the tubes come out at. And people don't realize that this is a water slide over here. They just think it's these 2 over here. So if you are ever over here, this one right here almost never has a line. These 2 always have a line once you get to the spot where you pick up your tubes. So if you want to go quickly, you can go down this one right here. However, I do know a lot of people do wait for the enclosed one, and the enclosed one is, in my opinion, the best one. It's scarier, but it's a lot more fun. In addition to that, right around the corner from that, we do have the downhill double dipper. The downhill double dipper is most likely the most popular water slide that is found anywhere inside of Blizzard Beach. Not because it's insanely popular, just because it only allows 2 people to go at a time, and it is a little bit more intense than some of the other water slides that are found here. And this one, it is an Olympic event. A lot of the stuff is now going to become Olympic events. For actually the rest of the stuff that we're going to be talking about is Olympic-based mentality, hence why we're doing a Blizzard Beach episode today with the Winter Olympics going on. So the downhill double dipper has it so 2 people will be racing to the very bottom. Not only do you have it so 2 people are going to be racing, this is actually a timed event. Not like, Run Disney races where you're doing the half marathon and you're being timed, but you still will be timed. You will be able to have the opportunity to find out how quickly you are going down this water slide. It is a tube. A lot of the things are going to be tubes. You're going to be sitting in this tube. You put your feet against the wall, and then all of a sudden they go ding, ding, ding. Your feet drop, and you go straight down. You go up, you go straight down again, and then you go up once again into the lovely water. Hence the name Double Dipper. Once you get to the very bottom, the entire thing is enclosed in a tube. It is very fast. It is very intense. Usually people are going at the pace of about 8 seconds for the entire attraction. But once you get to the very bottom, you need to quickly whip your head around and look behind you, because that is going to be where you will find the time for how quickly it took you to get to the very bottom and to see the time of the person next to you to see if you beat them. And you only have about 3 or 4 seconds to actually do that before it goes back to blank, because the next people who are coming down are now going to have the same exact experience that you did, and they have to time those people as well. Overall, I do enjoy the Double Dipper, but we're going to talk a little bit about something that I think is a little more interesting. So once you get to the bottom of the Double Dipper, where are we at? You're going to get to the bottom of the downhill Double Dipper, and you can go up these stairs right here. Now, these stairs will actually take you to one of the loading areas for the Double Dipper. There's another way to get here from over here. But while you're walking up these stairs, in this area here, you're going to have a few different details that most people don't really pay attention to. Number one, there's a few hieroglyphics on the wall. These hieroglyphics are helping tell the story of exactly what happened on that fateful day when that ice storm, snowstorm came through Central Florida and caused the ice skater to go through and turn this into his brand new home. In addition to the hieroglyphics here, you can also find the hieroglyphics in the tunnel on the cross-country creek that goes through the tunnel at the bottom of Mount Gushmore. Here, again, you will go into even more detail in hieroglyphic form about what happened on that snowy day. You can only read and figure it all out if you read hieroglyphics, but I'm sure I have faith in all of you that you'll be able to translate the entire thing. In addition to the hieroglyphics that are found on this wall, though, you will also find a few more details that help tell the story of why on earth is there still snow there to this very day. So there's going to be 2 different items that are placed on the stairwell here. There's also a few different spots around the park that also have these little details that most people just walk right on by and never really pay attention to. There are little orange machines and little blue machines scattered around the park. All of them are advertising that they are snow making machines. So that way, while you are going through the area, even though the snow happened way back in the 1990s, there is still snow to this very day, and that is because it is being helped by these snow-making machines that are scattered throughout the park. And in addition to that, we also have these cooling systems that are found throughout the park to, again, keep that snow that's being put into it still cool to this very day. If you continue going up that path, you can get to the top of the Green Hill, and at the top of the Green Hill, we do have 2 different mat attractions. We got the Snowstormers and the Toboggan Racers. Let's start off with the Snowstormers because I don't like it as much as the Toboggan Racers. Now, the Snowstormers are going to be these mat things. It's kind of like doing the skeleton in the Olympics where you're putting yourself head first and going straight down to possibly your death. In fact, it's kind of scary. I'm not going to lie. If you do not like scary things, this might not be the best one for you. There's going to be 3 different paths. All 3 different paths will take you around at pretty quick speeds. However, the one that's on the left-hand side, in my opinion, does go the quickest. So if you want to be a little bit more scared, do that one. If you want to be a little less scared, take the path that's in the middle. And if you want to be a medium amount of scared, take the path that's on the right-hand side. All 3 of them will take you to the exact same spot, but all 3 of them will start to whip you all around the corners. So you have to kind of keep your composure and just have the best time possible. In addition to that, this also has the opportunity to have it so you can have 3 people race each other. However, what most people don't realize when they get to the top of this water slide is that even though you can race each other, not all 3 of the water slides are the exact same length. In fact, the middle one is the shortest one, but it's also the slowest one. So the one that's on the left-hand side does go the fastest, but it does have the longer track. But because of the speed that you're going around, you do typically finish up before the people in the middle and the right-hand side. So if you want to race, I suggest going on the left-hand side and telling your friends to take the middle and the right-hand side, so then you can laugh at them later on. After going back up that hill, you can get to the other side, which is going to be the Toboggan Racers. Now, the Toboggan Racers does have it so there's 8 different paths, and all 8 paths are going to be the exact same track, unlike the Snowstormers, where all of them have a little bit of a different path. The Toboggan Racers has it so all people are going to go down a hill, and then up a hill, and then down a hill once again. This is going to be, again, on the mats where you're putting yourself down on the top of the purple mats and just flinging yourself off to have a good old time. Now, a few different things that I would like to point out is if you plan it perfectly, you can win every single time. I have never lost the Toboggan Racers with the exception of one time, and that's because someone cheated. So I am looking at you if you're watching this show. I don't remember who it was, but I'm cheater. Okay, but if you start off and you'll hear them say 3, 2, 1, go, you want to lift up your body and launch with your feet, and then have it so you put down. You want to lift up that purple mat just a little bit above the water, and they'll have it so you're flying on the top of the water and not having enough, or there's not going to be as much resistance to slow you down. So you'll just kind of be flying. And then when you get off those hills, you get some air, which is a lot of fun too. If you want to go slower, just put your mat all the way down to the ground, and then you will be going slower. Just not as much fun, in my opinion. When you get to the very bottom of the slide, you will have a finish line above you. And then if you follow that finish line to the right-hand side, there's going to be a scorecard. Now, on this scorecard, it's going to be showing you who has the fastest times for the day. Those fastest times will never change. Ice skater is always going to be in first place, and then a bunch of random people are just up there as well. So if you go take a look at that, it does have a few different things, but it's a nod to the Imagineers that actually worked on Blizzard Beach, along with another nod to the ice skater. And that, my friends, is going to bring us to the top of Mount Gushmore for our final 2 times. Now, time number 1 is going to be a look at my least favorite attraction of them all, which is the Slush Gusher. Now, the Slush Gusher is going to be a double dip type of situation, except for this time you're going to be laying flat on your back. You don't have a tube, you don't have a mat, you just have your back there. Now, the only reason why I don't like this is because every single time you will get air, which is fun, but as soon as you come down, just the arch of my back, it sucks onto the thing like a suction cup, and I'm always like, by the time I get off. So overall, Slush Gusher, my least favorite in the entire park. I don't really care for it. I will go on it once a year just because I want to say that I did it every single year. But besides that, it's not my favorite. But that's going to bring us to the granddaddy of them all. Now, before we get to the granddaddy of them all, let's talk about a few different details you can find up at the top of Mount Gushmore / Summit Plummet. So once you get up there, there's going to be this path. Now, this path will take you all around until you eventually can get up to either Slush Gusher or Summit Plummet. But if you look over here, there's another path that goes below Slush Gusher to this little ski lodge. Most people don't realize that you can go down here, but you can go down here. Now, this is going to give you a few very unique things. Number 1, it's going to give you a very unique view of the entire park. Not just the entire park, but pretty much all of Walt Disney World. If you look to the left-hand side, you'll be able to see Cinderella Castle / the Contemporary. If you look straight ahead, you can find Spaceship Earth along with Guardians of the Galaxy. If you look a little bit to the right, you can find Tower of Terror along with Galaxy's Edge. And then if you look way off in the distance, you can find the Disney Springs balloon from Disney Springs. In addition to that, if you look to the left-hand side, there are a group of skis there, with some of them being claimed as the Ice Gators with the skis. Did I say swings? Skis. You'll find some skis there that have it so it is the Ice Gators swings, skis. And then my favorite little detail is the actual way that Summit Plummet works. Now, as we talked about at the very start of this episode, this storyline is Ice Skater went down this and he ramped himself off and he flew through the air until eventually he crashed into the lodge. Now, of course, they're not going to send people off into the air on a ski lift. So instead, what they're going to do is they're going to drop you down in water slide fashion. Focus, dude. So if you look right here, it does go down, and then there is this little hole right here, and it will go below the ski lodge that people can stand at, and you can look straight down and you can watch the people that are flying out at 60 miles per hour right below you. Overall, it's one of the most unique, one of the coolest little views of the entire park. And almost every single time I've been here, I'm the only person there for a solid 15, 20 minutes. So if you want to go check it out, I highly recommend checking it out because most people will never check it out. And that, my friends, is going to bring us to the granddaddy of them all, Summit Plummet. Now, when Blizzard Beach first opened up back in the 1990s, Summit Plummet was the tallest water slide in the entire world. And then for quite some time after that, there was another water slide that was built that was a little bit taller than that. So then it was the tallest water slide in all of North America. And then someone else built a taller water slide and then became the tallest water slide in all of Florida. So Summit Plummet does take you 120 feet into the air and drops you down, and you go to anywhere between 60 to 70 miles per hour, depending on your height, your weight, all that other fun stuff, and you will plummet to the ground. They do start off the park every single day by having it so the very first guest gets to open up the entire park by having it so they bring them up to the very top of Mount Gushmore, and they have it so they are the first person to go down Summit Plummet to open up the park every single day. And overall, it is one of my favorite thrill rides of all time. You can see amazing things up there. So in addition to what you can see on that other ledge where you can see Spaceship Earth and Tower of Terror, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, up here, you can also turn around. You can also see Pandora. You can see the backside of Expedition Everest, which is surprisingly close to you. So you get like a really good view of the backside of Expedition Everest and a whole lot more. You just get a great views of all of Walt Disney World. So that, my friends, is our take a hike throughout Blizzard Beach. Now, if you guys have any questions, throw your questions out to the comments. We do have a few minutes if anyone wants to ask any questions about anything and everything with Blizzard Beach. While you guys do that, let's talk about a few more little fun facts about Blizzard Beach. Now, we've talked about the Ice Skater a lot. The Ice Skater is a meet and greet character. However, I have never met him because he has not been out for quite some time. Will he ever come back? I assume that we will see him at some point or another. But if you want to meet any other characters in the park, typically we have Goofy hanging out near the entrance of the park. Sometimes Mickey and Minnie, but mainly Goofy. Goofy is going to be the main character that you can meet inside of Blizzard Beach. There's not a lot of other characters you can find there. Now, when they opened up the Tykes Peak area, that originally was a different little area for kids. And then when they opened it up with the Frozen theme, I do like it a whole lot better than what it used to be. But in here, we do have Anna and Elsa, as I pointed out earlier, but they are Anna and Elsa as little kids opposed to the adults that we see towards the end of the film. And same thing with Olaf. Olaf is just a little snowman. Outside of Summit Plummet, what's your favorite water ride at Blizzard Beach? My favorite one besides Summit Plummet is going to be the toboggan racers. I don't know if you guys noticed. I'm insanely competitive, and going down the toboggan racers is one of the most fun things to do because you can just put people in their dust. I just love it. If I had to go through and pick my favorite park between between Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon, 100% every single time I would pick Blizzard Beach. I love Blizzard Beach. I really enjoy Typhoon Lagoon. I think Typhoon Lagoon's got great theming. It's just more of a relaxing park, and I am more of a let's go do a lot of rides type of person. So for me, I've always enjoyed Typhoon Lagoon, but if I had to choose between the two, Blizzard Beach every single time. I remember the first time I ever went to Blizzard Beach, it took me all day to summon up the courage to go down Summit Plummet, and finally, when I was ready to go up there, a lightning storm came and they closed down the park. So I never went on the first time. The first time I ever actually went on Summit Plummet was in 2010 after I moved down here permanently. And I went to the park with my friend Shelby, who doesn't live here anymore. But Shelby said, let's go to Blizzard Beach. I said, okay, I want to go on Summit Plummet. I never went on last time. And I was going up the staircase. Now, if you've ever been on Summit Plummet, you know you get to the top. You get to the top. And then there's this green staircase right there. And you kind of go up. You go up, and then you do a little platform. You go around, then you go up, and then you go halfway around, and then you go up one more time. And that's going to be where Summit Plummet is. The line was so long that day. And I remember I was there, and I was like, this is crazy. This is crazy. And I had just released my first book from Screen to Theme. And this guy in front of me could tell that I was nervous. And he was like, so first time on this? I was like, yeah, it's my first time on it. It's like, it's not too bad. Like, it's too bad those people died on it, but it's going to be fine. And I was like, sir, I've written a book about Disney. I know for a fact that's a lie. But he kept on going and going and going, trying to get me scared. And I was a little scared, I'm not going to lie. But overall, I was fully prepared to ride Summit Plummet. And after I did, I was so upset that it took me so long to ride Summit Plummet. And I would go on over and over and over again. It is the attraction that I've gone on the most at Blizzard Beach, just because I just think it's fun. And there's almost never a line, too, because I think people get scared of it. Or they go on it first, and they're like, okay, it's wedgie central. And I have heard that, especially women's swimsuits, they say it causes really bad wedgies. I've never had any issues with it, but I can also see how some people could have major issues with it. Okay, anyone out there have any other questions before we wrap up tonight's episode? I really want to go to Blizzard Beach. It doesn't open up. It doesn't open up again for another few months here. Let me look it up. They actually just announced today when it opens up here. Disney water parks, May 12th. Water parks open up May 12th. Both Disney water parks to be open starting May 12th. Mark your calendar for May 12th. Typhoon Lagoon will reopen, meaning both. Oh, wait. So that's just Typhoon Lagoon. When is. So I don't know when Blizzard Beach is going to reopen. It better reopen soon because I miss it. I really do miss it. Oh, wait. Anyone else out there have any other questions before we wrap up tonight's episode? Look, we were still at 9,229 subscribers. We almost got to 2,000 or 9,230, but we didn't because we're still at the same spot that we started at. So, okay, it looks like we don't have any other questions. So we're going to be wrapping up tonight's episode right here. Thank you, everyone, once again for joining us. Tonight's episode, as always, was sponsored by our Patreon pals. If you're one of our Patreon pals out there in the chat room right now, give us an oh yeah in the chat room. As always, thank you, everyone out there, for joining us. I hope you guys enjoyed it tonight's look at Blizzard Beach in honor of the Winter Olympics going on. Remember that anything can happen if you let it. Until next time, have a great week, everyone. Bye-bye. Goodbye now. Bye-bye now. Goodbye. Goodbye now. Goodbye now. Are they gone? Are they gone? Well, good. My cheeks are just killing me. I can't stand this kind of pressure.